That could have been bad. I thought this was the one on there before. Maybe a point today where I have to stop everything I'm doing and sharpen my tools, because I've cut a lot of mortises and I think my tools are dulling now. Oh, hello. Sorry, I just got on here. Look at the TT Penguin. Shout out. First one I see in the room. Welcome. I might move this mic to my left side here. Put this one aside for a minute. This is gonna go up here, right here. Those tenons got to be worked a little bit though first. No, let me put it like this. And unfortunately, I made some bad cuts in a brace today, or in a beam, in a pole. So now I have to cut the pole, square it, and cut all the mortises again, because I made that mistake. So that post is now done. I'm gonna have to use my next laminated piece for that post, which sucks. We're going to square the ends using a jig first. Once I've squared the ends, then I'm going to measure the length. Just aside here, because I'm going to use that again in a minute. Wow. Low numbers now. can't worry about that. Nope. All right, so to make this jig, I take this triangle and I put it 5 7/16 away from where I'm trying to cut. Because that's the width of this beam saw I'm going to use. Be about right there. Use this little scribe tool to get a straighter line here. No, that's not straight. I might even take it in a tiny bit more from there, somewhere like right here, so it takes the meat off the end and you can see that. I'm going to take the square, make sure the square is like right up against that edge on there. I'm going to clamp it twice to make sure it is. I'm going to move the mic again because I keep hitting it. I don't want to do that. There we go. That should work. Again, this procedure here is just to get the ends straight on this board. That's all I'm trying to do right here. So I have a reference face. Uh-oh. So now I've got my right angle jig there set up straight against the edge. I'm going to make sure that my rail is like right up against this thing. It's got to be, that's got to be 90 also. At the moment, it doesn't look like it's going to take off a whole lot, but let's give it a run. problem, and that is the clamp here. This clamp's in the way. This has to be on the other side. I'm going to take it back a little bit here. Take a little more meat off. I'm built, yep. Pro steamer, welcome. I'm working on bunk beds made with traditional joinery right now, but I'm trying to get this board squared up. Good question. Appreciate you being here. All right, that's a cut I can be happy with. And do the same thing on the other side. I need square reference faces on this board. Busting off shots. Sound like the door just popped open here. All right, I got one face straight. Out, Ben, out. Dog is in here now. He's scared because he just heard gunshots. Tell you what though, I ain't scared. I ain't scared. All right, one edge is squared. We're gonna flip it around. Well, I guess I better switch my angle back to my typical everyday angle then. Welcome to Dad's Workshop. Hello, everybody. This edge is actually straight. This isn't the one I cut. I might go over it just in case. I don't like that that's right on top of a knot. Maybe I do it from the other side. That's pretty clean over there. Yeah. Write the old NVM in there. Never mind that. Just go over to the other side. So it's just that knot. No, there's 3 knots where that mortise would be. That's not going to be fun. Forgive the pun. Not going to be fun. Well, this looks like it's also going to have knots in it. So I got to go 11.5 inches in here. It's about the millionth one of these I've had to cut because I made a mistake. And I had to take a whole leg and throw it out today. It probably took me 6 or 7 hours to do that bedpost. But not going to dwell on the negative. Just going to do it over again. It's good practice anyway. All of that. I should have clamped it down because I got to move it now. That's one. Then I need one at 52 and an eighth. Brace pocket on the same side. The pocket on the same, housing on the same side. I feel like I need to clamp this tape down. Mark the bottom because last time what I did was cut the brace backwards from there and then put it back 5 inches the wrong way. Oh, cool. I'm gonna have to check that out, man. I don't have that phone in front of me. Heather, check it out and tell me what you think of it. Send me the pic on my phone. I don't know what's wrong with my hat. I look like I'm wearing my hat off to the side. I think it's just bent up weird. Center my hat here. But welcome, Hank, friend of the show. All right, been making all kinds of mistakes, Hank. Had to take a post down that I spent hours on today, and previously had spent tons of hours cutting the mortise out of. I cut the mortise for the tie beam at like 5 inches short somehow. I marked it below the line and not above it. So I have to go back and do that whole post again. I was very upset, obviously. It's not fun to do that and discover something like that after you put your hard work into something. Dulled my tools doing it, you know. Cut through a bunch of knots. This board just a little bit. I want that layout face to be flat, man. Yeah. That's at 52 and an eighth. Let me double check that the other ones are at that too first. I don't want to do something wrong here. That looks like right at 52. Nah, that's 52 and a 16th. 52 and a 16th. Yeah, that's right. Now it is the width of this board up. So let me check this. It's like 3.5. It's more like 3 3/8, but we'll call it 3.5. Well, no, we'll call it 3 3/8 and widen it from there. Three and 7/16, just to kind of give me a little bit of a head on that. Above the bottom line of above the 58 line there. So it should be 3 and approximately 7/16. Let me see. Yes, 3 and 7/16. That makes it maybe a little small for what I'm doing, which is okay. Let's set my tool to 3/4 of an inch. Now the next thing I probably should do is cut this down to 64, but I want to make sure I got everything right before I do that. I probably will have to have some level of trust in this. Oh yeah, I don't want to do that. The brace pocket is going to be set from this side. I did that wrong too a little bit ago. Oh yeah? You know what? Whatever measuring tool you can use. Sometimes I can't find my tape and I have to use this yardstick I got lying around. That it's kind of hard to lose a yardstick. So, you know, with my ADHD, I'm able to like find the yardstick sometimes when I can't find the tape. I think I got the layout face right here. I'm not, I definitely measure twice and cut once. But what happened was I measured twice wrong. So, and a project like this is difficult. So it's not surprising. It's just, I was hoping I could get through it without making a really time consuming mistake. But let me know what you're working on, Hank. I'd love to know, man. Besides that heater, I know you're working on your heater air conditioning unit. All right, so I got the layout faces here. This one's at 11.5. This one's at 52 and a 16th. Now I know why those layout designs have them kind of, because you have to get these exactly right. All right, well, I will continue to, I'm going to mark where 64 inches is on here too. That's the next thing. .64 inches is the length of this post. All right. So that next thing I'm going to do is I am going to take a Forstner bit or a couple Forstner bits and go down these mortises and drill out these mortises. And I'll drop the camera back since it doesn't really matter right now. Anyways, viewership is low, so I'll just move it back and. Oh, nice. Oh, that's right. You told me you were rehabbing those old windows. Love those. I made a greenhouse where I used old windows as basically the frame. I just built sill beam or like headers and stuff, and then timber framed the outside of it. One of my favorite projects. They're gonna have a hard time getting that one down. Sash windows. I have two different size Forstner bits here. This one makes it a little more chiseling, but you can kind of stay away from your line a little bit better. I also have a couple different drills. This is just the one I have on hand here. Whoops. It's the one I have on hand here. Let's probably move that cord out from under there. So here we have a Forstner bit. I don't know if you can see this mortise right here. I might use it's kind of big. It's actually small. I'm gonna actually chisel outside that line, which is not really kosher. But I'm gonna make like a stop cut right behind this line. because it can be a little bit wider. I made it a little bit too small for me. Making it small is okay, but I made it too small. I got the Rick and Morty theme song stuck in my head. It's super hard right now. Let me see this. So this is my other Forstner bit, which actually works a little better. It pushes the limits of that out, but I think that's Mortise is a little small, so I think I'm gonna actually use this Forstner bit here. This little Forstner bit. The difference between like a hole saw and a Forstner bit is that the hole saw is just the ring. The Forstner bit actually takes the material around the whole circle out pretty cleanly too, unless you hit a knot, which sucks, but it happens. Really want to be coming at a right angle here. Especially when the bit is large. I'm not going to go all the way through. I'm going to go to the other side and go again. I wish y'all had smell-o-vision. It smells so good. That happens is because there's a knot in there, usually. Sorry, I'm playing with the mic so much, the little clip broke, so. don't usually misplace my mallet, but I have done so. One of those kind of days. It really is. Oh, I see it right now. Just blend it in back there. Hey, Vitaly, welcome, Vitaly, friend of the show. Sorry, I'm kind of in the zone right now because it's been a little bit slow tonight. You did miss the beam saw part, Vitaly. That probably you would have liked a little bit since you like the tools, I think. Yeah, I like to be in the zone. Except for earlier, I thought I was in the zone and I was miscutting something badly, so it cost me a lot of time. Sometimes like pulling yourself out of the zone a little bit helps. So you get a fresh perspective maybe. Actually a nice straight edge in there. One of my better ones today. So you do get better when you cut them. I'm going to be posting a time lapse of cutting these joints in a couple days once I can get to editing it. Well, you're about to see me not do something by hand, which is I'm going to use this Forstner bit. Give me a little head start. I've cut enough of these things. I'm kind of tired of it now. Can't have that happening too much. The bit is jumping. These are a little tricky. Oh, I know what it is. No, maybe not. With the Forstner bit, man, corded tool is really the only tool that's going to give it the right amount of power. So, kind of a necessity. I had it in my other screw gun, but it was getting dislodged and bounced around even more than it just was. I think it's actually getting dull now. That's what that jumping was. That was bad. These little edges it leaves, though, you can, with the sharp chisel, you can basically push them out, the little gaps between the circles. So you turn the chisel around, it'll kind of force out that edge stuff. If you tried to get it out a couple different ways, that's a way to do it. Just flip the chisel around to the like micro bevel side and hammer it in that way. It puts some pressure between the grain. I don't have a miter saw, so if you watch the beginning of this video, I built a jig to cut with my beam saw. So, and actually most miter saws won't cut a beam this wide. It'll only cut like 2x4s and pretty standard dimensional lumber. But what I did was set up my speed triangle with clamps against the wood, and then that's how I get the straight edge, reference edge. I did it earlier in the video. Yeah, I'm doing it by hand. So that's a really good question because that relates to what today's video really is. It's me squaring up the ends of boards and beams using go back to the beginning of the, I don't know if you can right now. I'm also going to make a video on that in the next couple of days. And I'll put some Discord information about how because you can do it with a circular saw too. If you don't have a miter saw, cutoff saw, you build a little, it's an easy jig to build. Getting through here, that's why I'm doing that. Oh, the beam saw for the live. Okay, yeah, I'll flash it. It's a huge saw. Oh, that's a beam saw right there. This one's like 25, 16 and 5/16. Pretty expensive piece of equipment. It's very heavy too, draws a lot of current. Probably my most, like, kind of my coolest tool. Not cheap, definitely. Yeah, it's a big saw. But it gets through, like, this is like a 4x4 beam. It cuts through it like that. Like, it cuts through a huge beam very quickly. And if set up with a jig, it's nice and straight and it takes no effort other than lifting the saw. You just got to lift the saw and put it in place. But Makita doesn't pay me anything. If Makita wants to pay me to promote their tools, they should do that. I should put tape over the name. I kind of have worked my way around needing the expensive things like expensive table saw, because cheap table saws are crap, so it's not worth getting one in a lot of cases. Everything you could do with a cheap table saw, you could do with a larger saw, a circular saw, a miter saw, or a bandsaw, a cheaper bandsaw. Hard stuff around the edge, and it's all end grain here. I almost got this edge clean here from this angle. That's about the spot where that knot is too. When you get near knots, they are such a pain, because they are, all the grain is going in different directions. It doesn't want to respond to your tools. It's not good for tooling, and wears your blades out. I feel like wood is like the ocean. Hear me out, let me tell you why. For a normal person, like, using these tools and going after a piece of wood can be really dangerous and going to involve some pretty high risk of injury, and the wood isn't going to cooperate with them, just like the ocean won't cooperate with an inexperienced navigator. But if you can work the wood to your advantage and you know how to manipulate the grain, the wood will do all kinds of things for you, which will be demonstrated when we finish these beds and we don't use any nails, screws, or other fasteners at all. Yeah, so both of my tools I'm using here are corded today. They're not, I have battery powered tools, but corded drills are always going to give you more power. So if you're doing something with like a Forstner bit, or you're augering, or you're using a chisel bit, and you're trying to get a cleaner cut, you're going to have to use a corded drill most likely. And near the knot, again, you can hear that crackling. That's from where wood is getting broken at the grain near the knot. big chisel. Yes, for most jobs, Vitaly, that's a cordless drill is fine. And even for a lot of woodworking jobs, they're powerful enough now. But that drill that I just used to do the Forstner bit, that's way more powerful than a cordless. It's no comparison. If you're looking for raw power, it's going to be a corded drill. And I didn't know that until a while after I started woodworking either, until somebody told me to get this. I'm not going to say the company name because they don't pay me. Starts with a D. They are actually a good company too. I had a planer break and they sent me a brand new planer in the mail. It's like a 100-pound thing. Yeah, I just split wood with my dad. He's got a wood burning stove, and definitely like it's kind of satisfying to split wood as long as you're not trying to use it for furniture. Firewood is a good source of heat, you know. I just listened to a whole podcast about the renewability and how eco-friendly woodwork is. Building things out of, especially with hand tools, you know, woodwork is really an eco-friendly project, especially if you're building homes with it. You're not using all those plastics and things that they use. And I haven't seen Juanita for a while. I won't bring up her name anymore. She must be gone. I must have lost Juanita to the trade winds or something. She's just, hope she's okay. Shout out Juanita. All right, here we go. This is the side with the housing cut into it. So let's move these chisels. I got this little mirror that I use to make sure that I'm getting the like I got the same depth on both sides. It's been working for me. My dad's got a gas-powered splitter. What's the difference between those? That's why I thought. I was wondering why his always splits the logs, even when they're like knotty and tough. I like that. The halls. The halls. I think I should probably lift it up to do that side. So Vitali, I cut all 4 beams, but today I was cutting a beam, and well, the other day Heather and I noticed the beam was curved, so I recut that beam. And then today when I was cutting the second mortise into that beam, I made a mistake. So now I'm recutting another beam. I was very upset because now I had to take I wanted to do corner braces. you know, and show y'all how magical those corner braces are. But I couldn't get to that because I have to cut these. I have to cut these posts until I get them right. I had to go get more lumber yesterday too. So good question. It's actually the fourth beam, but I think I have to recut. Well, I definitely have to. I made a mortise mistake on one of them. I can fix that, but this one I couldn't fix, so I had to remake the whole beam. Should say post, because that's what it is. Not a beam, it's a post. Bottoms are, both sides were a little uneven. There's some resin pocket on this side, which makes it's kind of like a knot. That's good for that one. Quick break, and then I'll go ahead and do the other cutting. I just thought of something. I cut that wrong, but it's all right. Well, we'll figure it out. I could probably shim the. That sucks. This is a hard thing, man. Doing this exactly right, it's crazy. I could shim the bottom, I suppose. Dang, that's not good. It might still work. The beam's going to fit into this spot. The hole is too long. But when the beam goes in, well, the only problem is when it sits down on the bottom. it's going to want to sit lower. So I'll have to figure that out. There's a way to figure it out, I'm sure. Might not be sure if I wasn't in front of a bunch of people, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. Yeah, so I cut that a little long, but I think because of the housing and the pin, it'll probably sit in there straight. It should sit relatively straight. It's going to have a strong hold by that pin, but we'll see how that works. All right, I got all my lines and stuff drawn here. I'm going to take the smaller Forstner bit. Now, I'm tempted to use the big one again, but it was bouncing around. That's the only problem. This one gets debris caught in it quickly. The wood chips catch in there and then it's not effective. Yeah, I definitely had to do that. Heather had to get me out of here. Yeah, I think that mortise will work. We're going to see how loose it is. If it feels real loose, it's going to take some support from the other members to make sure that it doesn't become a liability to the structure. If it's not a liability to the structure, then I'm not going to be worried about the aesthetics of it that much. I don't think you'll even be able to see that it's overcut because the tie will be in the place where you can't, it'll make it invisible. So as long as it holds straight, I'm fine with it. But I gotta be careful about that for sure. I'm going to take special care to put the Forstner bit over this knot because I don't want to chisel through that knot if I don't have to, or at least the bulk of it. It's going to have its effects will go all the way through this piece of wood, unfortunately. That little stair step approach works a little bit better than trying to back them right next to each other. If you're real ambitious, you could take another drill bit and go through the small parts. I generally do that. I don't know if I'm going to do that right now. I think I could probably get this stuff out pretty easily. Well, yeah. There is a way to get those screws out. You probably need a metal drill bit, a tiny metal drill bit, and just drill down into them, you know, that way. Get you a carbide bit. I mean, there's techniques to try to get those screws out. You could also use a plug cutter bit and cut around the screw if you don't mind having holes in the wood. And just put a peg in there to replace it so that it's and match it up with the wood color. Hopefully that helps. What did you do? What was your solution? I hope you didn't throw it out. It smells like an orange. It's so crazy. This wood smells like I just cut an orange open. It's citrus smelling. Yeah, that's one way to do it. the first thing that people are going to have you do when you learn how to do this stuff is fix their stuff. You know, like my dad has antique telephones, and they have the little wooden panel that you used to write on back in the day. You know, it's one of those earpiece phones from the turn of the century. He has two of them. Both of them were broken, and the job was to get the wooden panels back together. So I had to use zip ties, take a piece of wood that matched it, you know, go in there. You're going to get these kind of jobs. They're going to help you figure out what you're doing because you're going to learn how to come up with solutions for things. Interesting. I never heard of the wax. I never heard of the wax approach. Interesting. Not right there. That's why this side has been so hard. brute force in there. And this side is just all resin. Which breaks how it wants to break, you know. Yeah, we do too, man. We use them on leather. We use them on wood. We use them on our lips. We use them on our face when it's cold. We use them on our cutting boards. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Hank. Beeswax and olive oil. Ask Miss Heather. She's probably got it right next to her right now. You know, we make candles here, so we have all that stuff. And I used to do that. That's my board butter. So if I made somebody a board, I usually gave them a container of beeswax and olive oil to treat the board with. Like a cutting board or charcuterie. If I ran out of tung oil, for sure, because tung oil would be my first choice, and citrus solvent. But beeswax, that stuff is really waterproof, and it's good for a long-term conditioning of the board. I haven't had that happen yet either. I've heard that with some soap oils that I use too. Wow, it's like all wood chips compressed in here. knot right there. So I don't even want to go through it. It's a really stubborn one. Hopefully that did the trick. I think I got that knot out of there. Oh yeah, those things are pretty cool, aren't they? Little four-way level, four-way clamp. I never owned one of those. You know, not to be a snob, but technically we should be able to make miter cuts and you know, make a picture frame without a four-way thing. But you know, you know, there's different ways of what do they say? 1,000 ways to skin a cat or something. A whole bunch of different ways to do stuff. We'll make a dovetail box in here too, so you can see how to make bridle joints. Like a picture frame is going to be pretty much bridle joints or miter joints. You could use miter bridle joints, which are even cooler. There we go. Trying to clean these edges up so the wood has a square pocket to go into. Square rule, right? So when you get a knot, also everything behind the knot is a pain in the butt too. You know, we'll do bridle joints on here. I'm going to do them on this frame. There's going to be bridle joints on the top, which will be a large version of what you would use for a picture frame. Or a mitered bridle joint, which would form like this. Right? Because a bridle joint is a piece of wood that goes, well, it goes around or in another piece of wood, right? So you have a relief cut. And then a bridle joint is going to be like, or a bridle miter joint is going to be a 90-degree angle, or 45? 90-degree angle, where there is a 45-degree angle cut in the corner, and then a tiny little tenon that slides into the tail there. And it's not incredibly hard to do. You just, you know, you got to take your time with it. And if you want to, you just glue them together, right? But if you make them right, you won't even have to glue them. They'll bite, you know. All right, now to the last part of this, which is the cutting of this housing. Trying to come right down to that line there. Oops, I went a little deep with that. Not good. It's all right. Everyone makes mistakes. This is kind of a tricky way to do this, right? You use this as your level. I like that. I'm going to do that more often. Oh, that's not good. I've got my chisel on the floor. That one's going to have to be sharpened again. I guess you could like, where's my microphone? I guess you could have robots that are programmed to build the frames too. So there is already CNC routing. So all the stuff I'm doing now can be done by these big computers in these warehouses. But that type of technology is expensive. And if you like handcrafted, then, you know, there's only one way to handcraft, and that's with the hands. But I was listening to this timber frame thing today that was talking about computer generated like CNCs, right, which will actually cut members of a timber frame. That's actually how all the biggest timber frames are made now. They're in these factories in Europe where they have the computers cut them, you know. And so what do you call it, computer aided design, and then CNC, which is another computer something, and those two things together basically kind of already replaced a lot of the handwork. But you know, there's always a market for handmade things, I think. And for those of us that can't afford that tech, if we want to know how to do it and build a high quality house, right? Build a high quality piece of furniture. We don't have access to a CNC router that can cut large pieces of wood, because you have to have a facility and equipment that can cut huge beams, essentially, to do this kind of work. It is done. Yeah, I mean, I like to think that you should know how to do this stuff by hand. So I'm with Brian. Welcome to the show, Brian, friend of the show. Vitaly, friend of the show. Hank, also friend of the show. Let me move you over to the other side while I cut this beam to size. Five and 7/16. Vitaly, I'm about to use that beam saw right now to cut this this post into the right size. It's tricky to get this thing on here. Any way I can put this on here without getting in the way. Then I got this thing set to 5 and 7/16. I got this big huge saw. I'm gonna use it. Set it against my jig on the wall. Make sure I'm not gonna run over the cord. This little safety button. I might run into this thing here. I'm gonna have to move it out. sure that thing's up against the board. It is a huge saw. Here we go again. This time I got it out of the way. Just like that, we cut our basically a 4x4 beam cleanly. Gotta have a straight reference edge, man. Well, don't think negative. Gotta think positive and manifest things. I hope so much that this, I don't even want to show y'all until I know it works. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to work on that because that pin doesn't hold. I'm gonna have to make a fatter pin or make the hole longer. I'm using the wrong phone. That's the beam right there that I just worked on. That's the entire structure at the moment. Yeah, it was fun to use. And that's a long live. I didn't realize I was on for so long. Welcome, Brian. Appreciate you being here. I'm gonna be back tomorrow. Y'all come check me out. Come say hi. And I'll have some more progress done on this piece tomorrow. I got these long tie beams through the top. I had to put on hold. That looks leaning, but it's gonna be straight. We definitely plumbed that one, make sure that was good. And you know, these through mortises got to be what do you call it, shored up. So it's in progress, and I appreciate y'all. Love y'all, and I will see you tomorrow.